I finished watching Kemonomichi, the first to 10 match between Daigo Umehara and MenaRD. The matches were nothing short of amazing, and I probably don't need to tell you that. It was clear that both sides practiced and prepared an incredible amount to bring the absolute best that they can do. If you haven't watched it, you definitely should. Don't do yourself a disservice. Now, I'm not here to talk about the actual matches though, which is a bit weird considering the usual contents of this channel, but I'm going to talk about everything outside of it. The production, the way it was presented, and most importantly, how the players were treated. And to put it bluntly, it was terrible. Let me explain why. Kemonomichi, roughly translated to the Way of the Beast, is an event where it pits two players who have some sort of, for the lack of better terms, history with each other. It could be some sort of grudge like Ogawa and Machabo, where Ogawa and a good chunk of the Guilty Gear community dislike how Machabo talks so lowly about their game. There's even a famous interview where Machabo states that he would not have been happy even if he would have won the world title in Guilty Gear. Then why play the game? You can feel the negative emotion coming from each player during their interviews.
尊敬は別にしてはないですね。
まあまあわかる。
まあどっちかって言ったら嫌いな方ですかね。
俺も嫌いだから。
In other matchups like Tokido vs Daigo, it was a challenge to the father figure of the scene. Nothing but the utmost respect from Tokido, but also a sign of confidence to dethrone the king and start an era of his own. Every participant had a statement to make, and it was much more than just a win against their rival, their enemy, or their idol. It sounds corny to say, but it was a clash of souls. For a lot of these players, it was much more important than any tournament win. Not only that, it came with one of the most brutal rules. You will never get a run back. Once you lose, you're forever out of Kemonomichi. So participants prepare for potentially their one and only chance at proving themselves against their opponent in such a setting. There's a reason why the loser of these matches look so devastated. Even a seasoned pro like Tokido, who has experienced many losses throughout his career, are moved to the point of tears. I cannot imagine the amount of regret that he had during and after the match. And I honestly think that match changed Tokido both as a player and a person. So, suffice to say, it's much more than an exhibition match. I absolutely loathe even calling it that. It's something sacred. And if you think I'm exaggerating, go watch the interviews before and after the match of Tokido vs Daigo, Kotaka Shoten vs Yuvega, Taiyo Amemiya vs Kazu, or honestly, any of them. I know a lot of you don't understand Japanese, but sometimes the tone in both their voices and body language really says it all. The way I view this event was that these were important points in these players' lives. They are the focus, not the organizers, not us, and frankly, not anyone else. We are just bystanders privileged to stand witness to someone's culmination of blood, sweat, and tears. And I think Daigo and the organizers really understood that. The event was held in long-time running arcades like Game Newton and ran by seasoned vets like Matsuda. These are people who run legendary events such as Street Fighter III Third Stripe Cooperation Cup and Fist of the North Star's Seikimasu Budokai Tournament. These people have been living and breathing fighting games for many decades. These are small locations. There's no special lights or expensive cameras. It fits maybe 20-30 people to watch, but it was one of the most exciting events in the FGC, and most importantly, it felt genuine. Fast forward to April 2026. Instead of having it organized as a standalone event, we have it tacked onto EVO Japan like it's an appetizer to a meal. I'm already annoyed by this fact, but hey, big stage, packed stadium, and high production values. This is fitting for what may be the last hurrah for the godfather of the fighting game community, right? Then I hear there would be multiple matches beforehand. Goichi versus Lagia in Garou City of the Wolves, and Chikurin versus Arslan Ash in Tekken 8. I'm not too familiar with SNK and Tekken scene, but did these players have some sort of deep history and rivalry? I scoured the internet and couldn't find any promotional videos like I did with Daigo and Mena. Heck, Goichi hasn't even updated his channel in 7 months. Kemonomichi in the past had multiple cards, but every one of them had a story. Every player was the main character, and each came with incredible drama. Till this day, one of my favorite matches is between Taiyo Amemiya and Kazu in Puyo Puyo Tetris, a game I've never played or watched till this event. But their promotional video and the interviews really got me emotionally invested. And oh man, did the matches and post-game interviews deliver. I had such a huge wave of emotion, and it wasn't even the last match. Okay, well, if I can't find any videos, then maybe the interview before the match will bring something to light. First, I couldn't hear what Lagia was saying because somehow the English commentary came through the background.
去年も SRC のグランドファイナルで当たったんですけど、その時も、一応自分がその時見なはずだったんですけど、一回リセットされてから、
Some amazing production. It's okay. There wasn't much missed because all he said was he won against Goichi last time they met and bragged about winning $1 million. I know Lagia made the money comment to feel some excitement into the match, but it only showed that this was just business. Tried and true exhibition match to fill in some time for sponsors and promotions. Also, these matches weren't even first to 10s, just first to 7. These players had some amazing matches, and I'm absolutely not taking that away from them. If it's anything, it's the organizers' fault for making them feel a lot less important than Daigo and Mena. And that is a shame. Anyways, after many more delays, we finally get to Daigo and Mena. A few highlight videos play, and we get an accidental cut to the English desk before doing an oopsie back to the Japanese one. Some small talk, and more highlight videos. But if you want to watch the whole thing, check out this EVO YouTube channel. Why are we watching the full thing again? Maybe show this during the long wait? No cuts to the English desk this time, but we hear their voices for a split second.
Man, some of the best content.
ということで、ただいま
Once that segment is over, it's time to bring the players in. We have a long intro from Hype Man Rob ending with "Are you ready?" like it's some pro wrestling match.
For you, Tokyo, Japan. Are you ready?
In any other esports event, I think this would have been totally fine. I think Rob brings a specific energy and does a great job at it. He's excellent, but Kemonomichi is different. There's no need to manufacture hype. Anybody invested in the history already understands what is at stake. All of us are holding our breath, waiting for the moment to come. If you watch past Kemonomichi, the only time the volume is raised is when they call the player's name to enter, and right before the set starts. The last two had such a strict no-nonsense, let the fist do the talking attitude that the pre-game interviews were completely omitted. I mean, it makes sense. Most players in the first few ended up saying something along the lines of, "I'll show you what I want to say in gameplay." And that's how it should be. But we get an interview anyways because that's what we do at every normal esport event, right? At this point, I'm starting to suspect that the organizer has not watched a single Kemonomichi or its trailers. Brian Hart comes in and asks Mena if he has anything he wants to say. Mena gives a heartfelt answer of gratitude towards Daigo for accepting his challenge. You can already tell this feels much more different than the previous matches. Then, Ryan switches to Daigo. He asks what his win would mean to him, and this is how he translated Daigo's answer.
So Umehara said that next month he's going to be 45 years old, and this is going to be a statement, a strong statement from him in his match versus MenaRD, and he's definitely sounding very, very confident to topple MenaRD in this match.
Now, the thing with Ryan is that his Japanese is understandable, but it's far from fluent. You can tell he stumbles quite a lot, and nuances are certainly lost. I say this because I am a native speaker. What Daigo really said was, "Meaning of this win? I wouldn't know. Well, I'm turning 45 next month, but my peak is now. So if you win, Mena, you can be proud of it." This answer hits hard because there was so many people doubting Daigo's confidence, his will to win, and his ability to do so. However, a lot of that was lost in Ryan's translation. I think Ryan's a great host, but I wanted an actual professional interpreter for this event. Can I also talk about the camera cuts? Why is it showing the audience when Daigo made this comment? Sure, some cheers were heard, but that's not important. I want to see Daigo's expression and Mena's reaction. This is a man who contemplated retiring based on how this match went. This may be the last time we would see him on a stage like this. Why are we not capturing his every move? After that, the unthinkable happens. Ryan, in front of the two competitors, asks the crowd to clap if they want Mena to win. Then does the same for Daigo.
ここにいる皆さん、MenaRD 選手が勝ってほしい人たちは大きな拍手をお願いします。
You know, this is not a variety show where the participants act for the viewers' entertainment. One is fighting for his professional career, and the other is achieving his dream of challenging the player he loves and respects. It's one of the most important matches of their lives. This act just feels so out of place and disrespectful. Just as a disclaimer, I'm not attacking Ryan or Rob or any of the staff. I'm assuming they were given what to say or did not get a good explanation on the context of Kemonomichi. If you're an outsider who doesn't understand the language or the culture, it might be difficult to see how serious this event was. The games start. Like I said earlier, I'm not going to talk about the matches themselves. What I will mention though are the constant crowd cuts in between matches that sometimes sink into the first few seconds of a round.
これで2対1お見事さあお互いかなりの準備をしてきたそれがすでに見られている
I can't say this enough, but the most important things are the matches and players. I would rather have them showing Daigo and Mena. At some point, even Bonchan in the crowd waves his hand to tell the production crew to stop filming them. There are a slew of small issues like audio from the game not coming through, the overlay not loading in, or mistakes in win-loss count. Honestly, these are small compared to the Daigo win screen after Mena won.
なんということだ時代を変えるほどの大一番その背で世代交代をつかみ取ったMenaRD
Have these people not rehearsed any of this? All in all, the people who have organized and direct this event have absolutely no idea what Kemonomichi is and what this match meant to both players. This was just another esports exhibition match that was simply a side piece to the upcoming tournament to them. And that is so immensely disrespectful to the players and the people who have created, organized, and built Kemonomichi. It should have been a privilege and honor to hold this event, but instead, they simply took advantage of it. Am I the only person that feels this way? Certainly not. Here's a tweet from Bonchan. Kemonomichi is an event that Ume-san took a long time building. It matched players with some sort of history and really focused on their backgrounds. Losing these matches were not just regretful, but brought out emotions that were simply too harsh to put into words. The thing I hated the most was the pre-game interview with Ume-san and the thought that people outside our community would not truly understand the meaning of this match. The senseless performances, such as asking the audience who they thought were going to win, was something that would have never occurred if the organizers knew Kemonomichi. It was truly deplorable and made me sad. It's not just an exhibition match. Regarding the match, Mena was amazing. You made a historical achievement. Congratulations. I usually don't talk about my feelings on social media, but there were so many things that upset me that I needed to write this so that people can understand. I want them to improve on future events. I think this sums up a lot of our feelings. There were many more posts from other prominent figures as well as longtime members of the community such as I. The backlash was so strong that Rick soon made a formal apology in Japanese, but it feels so empty. You know, I'm very happy that fighting games are becoming big, that so many people are able to realize their dreams in such extraordinary ways. But as anything that gets big, I feel like a disconnect is born from its roots. An originally passion project of a 40-man tournament for fighting game players, created by fighting game players, now is controlled by megacorps and foreign entities who probably don't have the same thoughts and ideals as most of us. Obviously, there are both good and bad that comes with this, but I really hope the folks who still have the heart of the FGC at EVO reflect on this incident and perhaps strive to make changes, because at the current moment, I don't really want them to touch another Kemonomichi or special event.